Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to show you a duel from our cube. I think this is a great one that shows the grindy nature, the back and forth nature, and some of the comeback mechanics. So the red player is starting, so let me know if you like the idea of showing card advantage. I think it's a cool way to get a cleaner sense of which player has the momentum, because when combined with life points, as well as the actual monsters on the field, you get a really clear sense of which player has the momentum at any given time. So the red player does a standard opening, setting a monster and 2 face downs. Passes over to the blue player. The blue player sets 1 monster and 1 spell or trap face down and passes back. Okay, player number 1 summons Victory Viper XX03. This is definitely one of the good beaters in the cube because it has 1200 attack and can generate a +1 when it destroys a monster by battle. Unfortunately, it attacked into Royal Magical Library, which has 2000 defense. So I think generally you see this, that the monsters with more defense stick around more. Defense is definitely good. You know, it's that was a very clear design choice. So I would say right now, even though card advantage is tied and, you know, the red player took 800 damage, that the blue player has the advantage here. They don't need to do anything to advance the game state. They can just continue to sit on Royal Magical Library and wait for the red player to take the initiative to attack over it. So the red player decides to flip summon their Gamma, the Magnet Warrior. I think this is a really interesting approach. Gamma is obviously one of the strongest monsters in the cube, so setting it on turn 1 is a very risk-free play. The opponent may wind up attacking into it, take a little bit of chip damage. It will more than likely survive that. So then the red player summons Magna Drago, which is one of the tuners in the cube, and so this is one of the ways where he can get over it. He decides to synchro summon Flamvel Uruquizas, a 2100 attack synchro that inflicts piercing damage. So he goes ahead and attacks, kills a Royal Magical Library, and then attacks directly with Gamma. So this is definitely the way the cube is supposed to work. He invested into an extra deck monster to clear a threat, and now he clearly has the momentum. He's up in card advantage, and now the blue player needs to respond with something. And it can't just be a monster in defense mode because piercing is really threatening in here. Generally, you don't need to worry about losing life points until you're at about, 3,500 or so. But still, the blue player needs to respond right away on this turn. So there we go. Every time Flamvel Uruquizas inflicts battle damage, it gains 300 attack. So now it's at 2,400 attack. So I summon Karakuri Strategist Nishipachi. This is another tuner, and it has 2 effects. One is that when it's summoned, it's able to change the battle position of a monster on the field. So that puts Flamvel Uruquizas in defense mode, and then he goes ahead and attacks it. So there we go. We handled the first threat. Nishipachi has a second effect, which when it is attacked, it goes into defense mode. So having 1,600 defense is really good because now Gamma can't get over it. Now, I don't really know if the red player needs to make any additional push here. Nishipachi on its own isn't really posing that much of a threat, although I guess it technically is threatening a synchro summon. Because it's a tuner monster, it can turn into one of the more powerful monsters from the extra deck. So I guess for that reason, the red player really should be trying to get that thing off the field fairly quickly. So the red player normal summons on Meraki. This is just another 1,200 beater. If it's destroyed by a card effect, it lets you draw a card, but it looks like the red player is just going to overlay the 2 level 4s to Xyz summon a rank 4 monster. And he decides to go for Daigusto Emerald. Daigusto Emerald is definitely an interesting card here. It has 1,800 attack, so again, the player is doing a really good job of just getting enough attack points to be able to clear the threats on the board, and he has 2 effects. The first is that he can take 3 monsters in the graveyard and shuffle them into the deck and draw a card, so sort of like a mini Pot of Avarice. The other effect is he can detach a material to special summon a normal monster from the graveyard back to the field. So that allows him to revive the Gamma the Magnet Warrior. So the blue player does have 3 face down cards here. So if it had more attack, I think it would be really threatening here, but since Nishipachi is going to get turned to defense mode, I don't know if those spells or traps are really going to be that useful at this moment. And this is honestly pretty bad because if Daigusto Emerald can kill Nishipachi, then Gamma can attack for 1,500 again, which would put the blue player at like 4,000 life points. So, okay, Daigasso Emerald attacks, Nishipachi gets put to defense mode, and then the blue player activates Shrink. So that would put Daigasso Emerald at 900, so it wouldn't be able to kill Nishipachi. And Gamma wouldn't be able to kill Nishipachi either. So they take a handful of life points here. We're basically tied. Card advantage is tied. So we're in a weird spot here. Gamma can't attack Nishipachi unless it boosts itself up, but can the blue player convert and be able to regain the advantage? Because on the next turn, right, you just took a -1 to play Shrink. So Nishipachi is going to die on the next turn to Daigasso Emerald. So let's see. It looks like we're looking at the extra deck. Both Xyz monsters and Synchro monsters here. They just need something with more than 1,800 attack or defense to be able to force the red player to continue to extend. I feel like something that could generate a +1 here would be good, right? If they did a rank 3, they could go for Grand Pulse, which has 2,800 defense and can pop up to 2 spells or traps. That would definitely slow the game down more and give the blue player some advantage. If they go for level 6 synchros, I think the only one is Stardust Charge Warrior, which could attack all special summon monsters, and it draws a card. So that could be good here, but there are 2 back rows. So does the turn player have anything that could help in case they wind up running into a battle phase trap? Just looking at their hand, it doesn't look like it. Let's see. Okay, so they normal summon Yaoi. Yaoi prevents the turn player from drawing on the next turn. So it's sort of like a Yatagarasu or a Time Seal. Okay, and they synchro summon 6 for Stardust Charge Warrior. Okay, so this lets you draw a card, and then it can attack all special summon monsters once each. So that means that it could clear both Emerald and Gamma. So I think I would attack Gamma first, just because it's the weaker one. And we're effectively tied in life points. Okay, so he attacks, and the opponent plays Windstorm of Ataqua. That puts Stardust Charge Warrior in defense mode, which is not great because it has like 1,000 defense. So even though Ataqua was a -1, all the initiative is back in the red player. Is there something the blue player can do here? Yeah, I don't really know if that was the right move to be that aggressive. It clearly didn't pay off. I think maybe that was a chance just to play it more defensively and force the opponent to be aggressive. It looks like there were some trap cards. Okay, so they detach Emerald. This is really good for them because they get to generate another +1 by shuffling some of their monsters back into the deck. So Daigasso Emerald attacks the Stardust Charge Warrior, and it gets destroyed. And now Gamma gets another direct attack in. But the player on the left activates Damage Gate, reviving that Royal Magical Library, a 2,000 defense wall. It's really just crazy how much stats matter in this. Okay, so now again, the player on the right is the one who needs to do something. They need to figure out a way to extend further and get over that Royal Magical Library. I don't think there's anything else the blue player needs to do. I guess they could just set some more cards on the field, right? Potential monsters that could be flip summoned. Okay, it looks like that's what they're doing. I mean, that would definitely draw an attack here by setting that other monster. Okay, well, it looks like the player attacked. They attack Mysterious Guard. So it's a flip effect that can target a monster on the field and put it on top of the deck. So it looks like they spun back Gamma. Why would we do Gamma? Gamma can just be summoned again. If you got rid of Emerald, it would have been a +1. It's a weird choice. But it does lock out the draw phase for another turn. Yaoi locked out a draw. Now the player will draw Gamma again. Gamma is just such a strong card on its own. All right, so let's see. Genix Controller, that's another tuner that gets summoned. Genix Controller attacks the face down. It's 1,400. It's a respectable stat line. Okay, and it hits Skalengal. Skalengal just draws a card, so there you go. It gets Gamma back, and now they can unlock their draw again. Okay, so now you have 7. You could go for a level 7 synchro play. There's a couple options. But it looks like you didn't even do it. Is that because he was afraid of losing Royal Magical Library? Why would you not Synchro Summon there? I mean, you must have a trap card that would be threatening or able to kill. Okay, so out comes Gamma again. That makes sense. Okay, and they attack Gen X Controller with Daigusto Emerald, and it just dies. What was the point of that? Why? What was the point of even summoning it? Yeah, that seems like it wasn't the right move. Like, you could Synchro Summon into a higher defense monster that's a level 7. I think there are a couple. Or even just a monster with a lot of attack. You know, you could go for X-Saber or Bellum here. Why not? Or maybe they were trying to go for... Yeah, see, they had Crackdown face down. So Crackdown, it's a really cool trap card. It lets you target an opponent's monster and gain control of it. So had they spun Mysterious Guard, then they could have gained control of Gamma and summoned Gen X Controller. So they can 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, gone for an level 11 Synchro. That would have been a much better play. But instead here, they just crack down and they take... they go for number 27, Dreadnought Dreadnoid. Now, this is a really good card on its own, right? If this card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material instead. And he has 2,200. So that's really hard to get over. And so even though the blue player is down 1 in card advantage and a little bit in life points, I still feel like they have a really clear shot here of winning, right? They could run over Emerald, then they'd be tied in card advantage, and the opponent's going to have to figure out how to get rid of it. Oh, and they have a really good out, Quaking Mirror Force. So this is just like regular Mirror Force. You declare an attack. Instead of destroying the monsters, it puts them all face down, and they can't ever change their battle positions. So now this is just a 1,000 defense monster that has to be destroyed 3 times. But that's pretty easy to do. So just sets another card and passes over to the player. That was a really back-breaking Mirror Force right there. That thing sitting in defense mode is nowhere near as threatening as it being in attack mode. Yeah, if the blue player had gone for the level 11 Trishula, they could have banished that Quaking Mirror Force and the Emerald and the other back row and hidden for 27. That would have been a much better play in hindsight. Okay, so let's see. The red player summons Fabled Raven. That's a 1,300 attack tuner. And they attack Dreadnought Dreadnoid with both monsters. So now both of the materials are gone. And the way that we're playing it is that Quaking Mirror Force means that Dreadnought Dreadnoid cannot go back into attack mode because that's what the effect says. So, okay, this is pretty good. Deslakuta is definitely one of the more threatening cards if you're winning. I think right now the game state is a little bit more open, and the blue player is probably just slightly behind. This is the first time I think they are technically +1 on the other player. So that's interesting. But are you just going to get rid of Deslakuta now? Are you going to try to protect it? I don't think they have anything that can protect it. So they have to somehow convert it into something bigger right here. But neither of these are really applying any pressure at all. So it's not a super great situation. Yeah, that Emerald is just... 1,800 is a very high stat line here. If the red player has a level 3 in their graveyard, it looks like the blue player has Autonomous Action Unit. So they could revive a level 3 and then Xyz for a rank 3 monster. Okay, so they play Autonomous Action Unit. Man, this is a risky card, right? It can revive a monster from the opponent's graveyard at the cost of 1,500 life points. That's really good. And so they get Flamvel Uruquizas with it. Okay, that's a good choice. 2,100 attack and get rid of Emerald. Deslakuta is still just going to die next turn, right? But at least being able to get rid of the Emerald is good. Or maybe it's better to get rid of Fabled Raven because that tuner can threaten another extra deck monster. So it probably is better to attack Fabled Raven here. Okay, and so they do attack and destroy the Fabled Raven. That puts Uruquizas up at 2,400, and it reduces the red player to 5,700 life points. So the blue player has 9 cards, and the red player has 6 cards. Technically, the blue player really has 8, because Autonomous Action Unit isn't really a card. Okay, and in the end phase, the red player activates Miracle's Wake. Oh my gosh, that's really good here. Select a monster that was destroyed by battle and sent to your graveyard this turn and revive it. So now the red player is able to maintain card advantage, and they're able to... I wonder why Deslakuta was left in attack mode. I mean, clearly they're either bluffing or they're threatening a trap card that can help here. So, okay, it's 9-7. I mean, I feel like on this turn, you need to clear Deslocuta and you need to clear Uruquizas. You have a level 2 tuner on the board. So if you summon a level 3 or 4, that means you could go for any level 5 or 6 synchro monsters. I don't think there are any level 5s that can really help in this situation. I mean, obviously, you can still just run over Deslocuta and Dreadnought Dreadnoid. Okay, so it looks like they are going to attack first. They attack the Deslocuta, and blue player activates Nordic Relic Bersingamen, which makes Deslocuta's attack equal to Daigesto Emerald. So that means that they will just, it's basically not a Sakuretsu armor. Yeah, it just causes them to crash into each other. So Deslocuta got a +1, and then you had to -1 yourself to, like, I don't think Deslocuta really did anything there. But okay, so there goes Dreadnought Dreadnoid. So now it's 6-6. Technically, it's 5-6 because Autonomous Action Unit isn't a card, but I feel like the blue player still has a little bit of initiative here, right? With one attack by Uruquizas, that will do, at least 1,000 damage, and then it's basically an even game. And in main phase 2, the red player summons Relinkaribo. Oh, so in this card, if a monster would be destroyed by battle, you can banish Relinkaribo from the graveyard. So see, this is the smart move. This is what the player on the left should have done, is gone for a high defense monster. Mistbird Klausalas has 0 attack but 2,300 defense, and it can negate a monster's effects and make it 0 for the turn. So Uruquizas' attack is now 0. It loses its attack boost, and so it's not strong enough to destroy Klausalas anymore. So that's really not good. So now the player on the blue, they need to extend further to regain the advantage, because right now they don't have any way to destroy Klausalas, and if the red player summons another monster, they can make Flamboyant Uruquizas attack 0 and then just run it over with anything. So Klausalas is a really strong card. It's also one of the only effect negation cards in the entire cube. Okay, so it looks like they're just going to set a monster. That's not going to be able to handle Klausalas. Okay, if the red player doesn't have another monster to summon, maybe this will work. But if they summon anything, then Uruquizas is gone. Oh, but even if they do had a way to attack Uruquizas, there still is that Relinkaribo in the graveyard that could keep the Mistbird Klausalas on the field. Okay, so the red player makes Uruquizas' attack 0. Maybe you should have put that in defense mode. Okay, and then they normal summon the Cuckoo Commanded to Croon. So this card is kind of similar to Deslocuta. You can activate the effect where during the end phase you can draw a card. So, okay, he does that. He goes and attacks Flamboyant Uruquizas, so that means that blue takes 800, going down to 2,200. So now it's 5-6 in card advantage, but it's about to be 5-7. Okay, yep, 6-7, because now it's the blue player's turn. Now you have to figure out a way to kill the Cuckoo so that the player doesn't get another +1 next turn. But they have the Relinkaribo too, so they could protect it. Yeah, really, the red player has like 8 if you count Relinkaribo as half of a card advantage. Okay, so they flip summon Swarm of Centipedes. So this lets you change the battle position of another monster on the field when it's flip summoned. It's very similar to Deslocuta, or those other swarm cards, Swarm of Scarabs, Swarm of Locusts. So, okay, so this would be putting Klausalas in attack mode, and it is 0 attack. Okay, so Swarm of Centipedes can hit Mistbird Klausalas for 15, but it won't destroy it, but it will force the Relinkaribo, unless he summons another monster. Okay, we're summoning DD Warrior. Okay, well, DD Warrior could bypass Relinkaribo. DD Warrior could just attack Klausalas, and they could banish each other. Okay, so DD Warrior goes ahead and attacks, I assume, the Klausalas. Wait, they attack the Cuckoo? Okay, why? The Klausalas is way more threatening than the Cuckoo here. Okay, Swarm of Centipedes attacks Klausalas. Oh, and the red player has Construction Train Signal Red. So you can special summon this from the hand when an attack is declared. It can't be destroyed by battle, and then you have to attack the Construction Train instead. So that's protecting the Mistbird Klausalas. Oh my goodness. That is wild. Okay. That is, ooh. Okay, so that means Relinkaribo is still there, and it looks like blue player is just going to have to set that Swarm of Centipedes. That thing has 500 defense. That's not very good. The Construction Train can just run it over. Okay, so it's the red player's turn. They put Mistbird Klausalas back in defense mode. That makes sense. I mean, I guess If Swarm of Centipedes somehow survives, it'll just put it back in attack mode. And they summon Victory Viper again. Okay. Oh, and they know that Victory Viper can kill the Swarm of Centipedes. So Victory Viper goes ahead and attacks and destroys Swarm of Centipedes. That means that they could generate a token which has the same attack. Oh, okay, so now they have another 1200 attack token. Is this just game? Because Construction Train has 1000 attack, and the token is 1200, so this would be exact game. All right, so the token attacks, and the blue player activates, countergate. Okay, when you declare a direct attack, negate the attack and draw a card. And if it's a monster, normal summon it immediately. Okay, so it's Watt Lemur. Okay, I guess I get why they waited, because if it was a weaker monster, then the token would just kill it. And so now the blue player has a little bit more card advantage. They have Watt Lemur. This is a good card. If it's destroyed by battle, it makes the opponent skip their next battle phase. So that's pretty good. Although it seems like Mistbird Klausolas might be able to negate that effect. Okay, just looking at the hand, there's Hain, there's Prediction Princess Petal Elf, there's a Bashing Shield and a Murmur of the Forest. So these are not very strong monsters. They all have pretty low attack. They all have good effects that can disrupt the opponent. I think Petal Elf is going to be the way that the blue player gets back into this game. Okay, so Watt Lemur goes to defense mode, sets 2, sets a monster. Okay, this is getting pretty complex. So let's see, if I were the red player, I could negate Watt Lemur and just run it over. And then I probably would just keep attacking. Like, I have so much advantage here, and I feel like blue player is just on the ropes. I'm up 5 cards, and I have Reeling Karibo. Okay, so they do negate the effect with Klausolas, and then they attack Watt Lemur with Victory Viper. That makes sense to attack with that, because you know you can get the kill, and then he makes himself and by default, the token both gain 400 attacks. Now the token is at 1600. That's a really high stat line. Nothing gets over 1400 on a normal summon. And that could even start beating some of the higher defenses of the monsters in the cube. Okay, so now they attack with that 1600 token. And its Prediction Princess Petal Elf flip effect. Change all attack position monsters your opponent controls to face up defense position. Monsters changed to defense position can't change their battle positions. But that really does neutralize their board, because now basically it's like those are just clogged zones. But being in face up means that they could be used for a link or a synchro summon or something like that. And these obviously wouldn't if they're face down. So that could actually have some implications on the outcome of this game. Okay, so the blue player sets a card and sets 2 face downs. Yeah, I feel like if the monsters actually were face up here, the red player would just Xyz summon something. I mean, they could keep Mistbird Klausolas. It doesn't negate the effects. That thing could stay around. And I guess Construction Train and Victory Viper are different levels, so they couldn't be Xyz summoned. But if the player has a tuner, then those things would probably wind up getting synchroed off. At least the Construction Train would. But yeah, the fact that Victory Viper and the token, that's 8 stars. So even like a level 1, going for a 9-star here, you go for Mistworm, bounce the other field, and just attack for game. So yeah. Well, it looks like we're just kind of stalling out a little bit here. All right, and there's On Meraki again. Just a decent beat stick. It's kind of immune to disruption because it could draw a card. So kind of get some free attacks in here. Okay, and it attacks Hain, classic flip effect to bounce a monster to the hand. You could just clear the token or the Klausolas to get a +1. I mean, you're so far behind in card advantage that you kind of need to do that, especially if you have some other way to deal with On Meraki. Oh, and I think the blue player just drew evenly matched for their turn. That's not great. I mean, obviously, they're really down in card advantage, but this isn't a great position for evenly matched because I have 2 set spell cards, it looks like. Oh yeah, the player could always have just gone for Trishula, right? They could have banished all of those monsters that were turned to defense mode for Trishula or something like that, being a generic fusion. And that could have just ended the game too. But then that would have been bounced to Hain. So maybe it doesn't really matter what they've done. I don't think it really would have impacted the game state that much. Yeah, with just 1,200 life points, your options are really limited because you really have no margin for error and you can't make a mistake because just one direct attack and you lose. It also looks like the blue player has no monsters. Okay, so they activate Bashing Shield, equipping it to on Meraki, and then they play Murmur of the Forest to flip it face down. Okay, so they got rid of all their back row, enter their battle phase, and ends their battle phase for evenly matched. So at the end of the battle phase, you can activate this card from your hand if you control no cards, and now you force your opponent to banish cards on the field equal to the number that you control. So basically, this means that the red player can only control one card. So this is a really cool way. I mean, the blue player has 2 cards. So this definitely evens out the card advantage a little bit. So it looks like the red player is just banishing all of their monsters. And it looks like the turn player just leaves that one back row face down. So I set 2 cards and okay, and now they activate their face down. Intimidating or Summonite. So this lets them target 3 monsters in their graveyard and then pick one of those 3. And then the blue player can choose to either summon the one of those 3 monsters or special summon the other 2. So this could be a +1 or it'll just be a 1-for-1. But right, the card advantage is now 2 to 5, but this could make it 2 to 6. Is it even going to matter? Okay, so there's a tuner, there's a beat stick, and then there's a piercing monster. So I feel like you can't pick the Uruquizas. Okay, so Uruquizas is on its own. Yeah, because you have no monsters. You don't know what monster you're going to draw. And you can't synchro with the Fabled Raven and the Emerald because it's an Xyz monster. So, okay, so it looks like that the blue player is choosing them to get Fabled Raven and Augusto Emerald. And now it's the red player's turn. Okay, is this just game? Just one attack from either of these monsters and the game is over. 5,300 to 1,200. Okay, and Augusto Emerald attacks. And the blue player activates. They got nothing. And that's the end of the game. Oh, man, they had Spirit Reaper, Hypnocorn. Yeah, I mean, I actually think that was like, the red player didn't really have that many good follow-ups just looking at their hand, but the blue player had no more monsters. And obviously they outplayed and out-advantaged them. So I think this was a very well-deserved win by red. I think there were probably 1 or 2 misplays by blue that really kind of threw the game. Having that relink Karibo was obviously really great. Additional defense there to maintain that field presence. I think red just did a better job of keeping their monsters sticky on the board and applying really good pressure with those monsters, right? The fact that basically a 1,500 vanilla and an 1,800 vanilla were the main things that threatened the opponent. I think that really just goes to show that these battles don't always wind up with the powerhouses that you expect. Typically, the biggest threats get cleared very fast, and then it's these middle range threats that have decently pushed stats are the ones that really wind up doing the majority of the work in the game. So I think that's just a really interesting way of showing how what I would consider to be underpowered monsters can really overperform and overexert. I just wish that evenly matched was drawn a little bit earlier, right? 1 card short, that kind of thing. But anyway, I think that was a really great duel. So comment below your thoughts. Love to hear what you have to say about this format of showing the cards on the screen as well. Thanks.